ಸಂಸಾರದಾವಾನಲನಿದಲೋಕ ತ್ರಣಯ ಕಾರುಣ್ಯ ಗಣ ಗಣತ್ವಂ ತ್ರಣಯ ಕಾರುಣ್ಯ ಗಣ ಪ್ರಪಸ್ಯ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ ಗುಣರ್ನವಸ್ಯ ವಂದೇ ಗುರೋ ಶ್ರೀಚರಣರವಿಂದಂ महाप्रभो कीर्तन नृत्य गीत वादित्रमाद्यान् मनसो रसेन मनसो रसेन रोमाञ्चकाम्पश्रुतरङ्गबाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं रङ्गबाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं श्रीविग्रहाराधनरिचनाना शृङ्गारतानमन्दिरमर्जनादौ युक्तस्य भक्तं शनियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसादौ स्वदन्नतृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्गान् कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं श्रीराधिकाम चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसादौ स्वदन्नतृप्त श्रीराधिका कामादवयोरपार माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् लीला गुणरूपनाम्ना प्रतीक्षाना स्वाधनलोलुपास्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं निकुञ्जयो नो रतिकेली सिद्ध्याय यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्र त्रिदाक्षादतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं साक्षादरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रैर् उक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव शब्दिः समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भाव्यते वसभिः किन्तु प्रभोर्या प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादान्न गति कुतोऽपि यस्य प्रसादान्न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायान्तु वंशस्य यशस्वीसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे शून्यवादी सचारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद कृष्ण चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद कृष्ण चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana Giridhari Gopinath Madan Mohana. Giridhari Gopinath Madan Mohana. श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवती गीता श्री अद्वैत सीता श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम जय राधा नीला माधव श्री राधे जय राधा नीला माधव श्री राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रमा जय सुदर्शन चक्र जय सीताराम जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादलाददायिने हिरण्यकाशीपूर्वक्षः शीलटङ्कानकालाये हितो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा बाहिर्नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे सिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलवरेणकाम् अद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तानुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे करकमलवरेणकाम् अद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तानुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे शवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रह्लाद महाराज जय प्रह्लाद महाराज प्रह्लाद महाराज जय प्रह्लाद महाराज प्रह्लाद महाराज प्रह्लाद महाराज जय प्रह्लाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय भक्त शिरोमणि प्रह्लाद महाराज की जय
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पामो ए अभिलाषी राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाबो ए अभिलाषी जे तुम्हार शरण लो तारा वंच पूर्ण हो कृपा कोरी कोरो तारे वृंदावन वासी मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंज दियो वास नायाने हरि बो सदा जुगल रूपरासी ए निवेदन धरो साकीरानुगत करो सेवाधिकार दिए करो निज दासी दीना कृष्ण दासे को ये ना मोरा होय श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न भासी श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न भासी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी। जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी। नित्य गौरा हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल। तुलसी देवी महारानी की जय। श्री वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवा सचा विष्णु भक्ति प्रतिदेवे सत्यवताय नमो नमः। श्री वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवा सचा विष्णु भक्ति प्रतिदेवे सत्यवताय नमो नमः। श्री वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवा सचा कृष्ण भक्ति प्रतिदेवे सत्यवताय नमो नमः। श्री वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय।
have mercy upon him and make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire is also grant me residence in the practical to Shiva and Dhamma. Thus, within my vision, I shall always behold the beautiful paths of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of our damsels of Braj. Please give me the privilege to do service and make me your own maidservant. This very fallen and lowly self to Krishna grace. May I always swim in the love of Shri Radha and Govinda. There are 10 fences in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme devotees by setting their lives for the purification of the name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods such as Shiva, Brahma, independent of the Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the visible literature of the tunes of Vedic version. 5. To consider glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be meditation. 6. To give some interpretation to the name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna as auspicious ritualist activity, offered in the Vedas as fruit activity, karma, and 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glory of holy name. 10. To not complete faith in the chanting holy name, and to maintain material attachments in your understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also necessary to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to advise and has regarding these 10 senses, in order to quickly achieve desires of Krishna payment. Now let us know most noble businesses on all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just as I treat everyone with a full compassion for all the Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam Ki Jai. Cheto Dharvana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavati Nirvapanam Shriya Kairavachansika Vidaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pradipmadam Purnarmida Sadhanam Sarvatma Snapadam Paramijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nanamakari Bodhani Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Yamita Smaranina Kalaha Etadishi Davakripa Bhagavam Mamapi Durudevami Disham Yahajani Nanurakaha Kirinatati Sunichena Karorati Sajishnuna Amanina Manatena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nathanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Jammani Jammanishware Bhavata Bhaktir Haituki Tvari Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Udo Kripaya Davapada Pankaja Sitaduri Satesham Vichintaya Nayanam Garadashrutaraya Bhadam Katkada Rudaya Gira Pulaka Nichitam Mapukata Tavanama Kahane Bhavishati Yuga Itam Nimishena Chashusha Pravisha Itam Shunya Itam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahename Ashri Shavaha Padaratam Pinnashtumam Adarjanam Armadam Karotuva Yathatha Va Vidatatu Lampato Madrana Nathastu Sayeva Naparaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Shastakam. Glory to Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which connected the heart of all the Dasaka committed for years, and is still inspired conditional life for repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is defined by vision to humanity in the life, because by the race and plantation moon is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean transcendent bliss, and it will fully taste the nectar which always promotes. The holy name alone can earn all benefits human beings. Thus there are hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names never represent all your transcendental ends. They are not even hard to pass through the champion these names. O Mary,
Out of kindness, enable us to easily approach you by holy name.
But in we should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself, Lord, in the joy in the street, one should be more taller than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I fall into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your holiness feet. O my Lord, when my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name, when will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs on my body stand on end at the recitation of holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering one would be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even as the hands of the praise. He makes me working hard by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything. But he is always my Lord.
साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती इति नामिने नमः श्रीवशवानवी देवी दयतया कृपाप्तये कृष्णसम्बद्धविघ्नदायिने प्रभवे नमः मधुरोज्ज्वलप्रेमाद्य श्रीरूपमूगा भक्तिदा गौरकिशोरकरुणा सत्यविग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यबुद्धये विप्रलम्बरसम्भोगे पदं भुजते नमः
नमो
गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय
Vipralambujaite Namaha. Sakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gora Virpumestwam Nirjesta Sachana Priya Vaishnava Savagoma Sri Jaganatayate Namaha. Panchakalpa Turabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavatanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gurujase Namaha. Panchatatvatpakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Chayatam Suratur Bangur Mamamanda Mater Gati Matsarva Swapadambo Jo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadramadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamanu Smarami Shiman Rasara Saran Bivam Sivata Tatastita Karsan Venuswaner Gopir Gopinatak Striyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai. Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradiro Nda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakadasadmas Kalpa Riksha
Lakshavrite Susurabhirabhipaliyantam Lakshmi Sahasrasata Sambrahma Sevyamanam Govindam Adish Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Gunantagaro Indalayataksham Bharhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundaram Gam Pandar Katopika Maniya Vishesha Sobam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kala Sadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranay Keli Kalavilasam Shamam Tribanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Anand Nirvanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadruchvala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sadurlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Maripungamanam Sobhyasti Hat Prapadasimya Vichinchitatve Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chayitum Jagadanda Kotim Yaschakti Rasta Jagadanda Chayayadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayanta Rastam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Baba Bhavita Dyomana Jasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusa Suktarya Meva Nikama Pratitaistuvanti Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Tabirya Eva Nijarupa Taya Kalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhutto Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santak Sadeva Hidesa Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Amenatista Nanavatar Makarod Bhuvane Sukintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavad Paramam Pumamyo Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding as all desire in the abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals and head decked with peacock feathers, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers beautified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shamsundar is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, and by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas, by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confidants, Sakis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever-blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Sham Sundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Nrsimha, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portions. Sri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi Haribol. So we're going to go over again chapter 13, text 16, because this is a very profound statement, and it's good to hear more about it. And it says, Bahir antascha bhutanam acharam charan evacha Suksmartvat tad avidgeyam durastam chanike chatat. The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although he is far, far away, he is also near to all. Now, most people, as we've said before, would think this is a bunch of nonsense, right? They would say, I don't understand what he's talking about. This is crazy stuff. I've never heard this before in my life. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to just go back and start drinking beer and put my baseball hat on backwards and watch football, right? Well, there's a very beautiful explanation. There's also in Mantra 5 of the Ishopanishad, which says, Tadejiti tanejiti tadure tadvantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasya salbayataha. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. This is Mantra 5 of the Ishopanishad. Prabhupada writes, here is a description of some of the Supreme Lord's transcendental activities executed by his inconceivable potencies. The contradictions given here prove the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. That's a very important statement right there. Let me just read that again. He says, the contradictions given here prove the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. He walks and he does not walk. Ordinarily, if someone can walk, it is illogical to say he cannot walk. But in reference to God, such a contradiction simply serves to indicate his inconceivable power. This is what you have to understand. Mm-hmm. This is what the guy with the baseball hat on backwards doesn't understand, right? Because he doesn't have inconceivable power, so he uses his logic to say, well, if I don't have it, nobody else has it either. But that's nonsense, right? Someone might be blind, and he can be walking with a friend and who has eyes, and the friend says, oh, the sun is really beautiful today. And he'll say, well, I don't believe it because I can't see it. Well, so what? You can't see it. You're blind. Okay. We're not blaming you to be blind, But that doesn't mean nobody else can't see. So this is, unfortunate that people think like this. But here it says very clearly, and you have to remember this whenever you read these mutually contradictory qualities of the Lord. He can be here and somewhere else at the same time. He can be very far away but very near at the same time. He has no legs, but he can run faster than everyone. Does that mean he has no legs? No, it means he doesn't have legs like us. He has different type of legs. And we have those type of legs too, but now they're covered by this body, so we don't realize it. But if we become purified, we'll realize that we have those type of legs too, in our spiritual body. Okay, so it says, I'm just going to read that one more time for emphasis. It says, the contradictions given here prove the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. In other words, he can do things that we can't even conceive of. And even when we see it, we're still baffled by it. Right? He walks and he does not walk. Ordinarily, if someone can walk, it is illogical to say he cannot walk. Now, that's a perfectly logical statement, right? But in reference to God, such contradiction simply serves to indicate his inconceivable power. So this is the way the ancient saints wanted to explain the inconceivable power, right? Now, in modern times, people might not choose to say it in the same way because they think, well, it's contradictory. But actually, it has to be contradictory because we don't have inconceivable power, but God does. That means he can do things that we can't do. With the false ego, we say, well, no, I can do that too. I just need a little bit more practice, that's all. See, that's all nonsense statements like that because people have been poisoned by modern education. But there are definitely things that we can't do that God can easily do and leave us completely flummoxed or confused. How did he do that? It's impossible. I can't do that, right? Just like, how come it was so sunny and dry and for our festival? So you try and figure it out. Look at today and yesterday, it started to rain. What?
This whole week is like that.
What?
Another 10 days.
Another 10 days of rain, yeah.
And only on that day it touched 70 almost.
Yeah. Now, how did that happen, right? So therefore, we depend on Krishna. We don't depend on this or that, right? And if you depend completely on Krishna, and Krishna sees that you're sincere in your heart, and you actually mean it, then he can arrange things. And if he doesn't arrange it, that's okay also. That's okay also. We'll accept whatever Krishna wants, right? We're not going to say, oh, he let me down. He didn't do what I wanted. It's not what we want. It's what he wants, right? So if we have genuine, pure desires, just like when we were trying to build this temple, we had to go through so many difficulties. You would not believe the difficulties we went through. It was not only raising the money, there were many other difficulties. But every time we came up to what seemed to be an impossible difficulty to solve, we prayed. And not so that we would be successful. We prayed, Krishna, whatever you want. If you don't want us to build this temple, we won't build it. If you want us to build a temple, then you know what we need. We're not even going to ask you, right? Every time, in a miraculous way, those impossible obstacles went away. I mean, you couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. The other devotees couldn't believe it either. I mean, one of these days I'll explain all those things. But you build a temple with prayers. You don't build it with bricks. You build it with prayers. And just like this Bellevue temple, we have to build it with prayers. We've been praying for 10 years now. We're near the end, but they always come up with something new, some new code, some new problem, etc. So we have to pray, not that we'll be successful, but whatever the Lord wants, we'll accept. Right? So here it says, okay, look, we know it's illogical. He says he can walk, he cannot walk. It doesn't sound like a logical statement. But in reference to God, such a contradiction simply serves to indicate his inconceivable power. That's why they're stating it like this. The ancient saints are stating it like this. With our limited fund of knowledge, we cannot accommodate such contradictions, and therefore we conceive of the Lord in terms of our limited powers of understanding. So that's a paraphrase of a statement which says that people see things in terms of their limitations. Atmavan manyate jagat. Atmavan manyate jagat. People see things in terms of their limitations, and that's a mistake. We have to see things in terms of Krishna's inconceivable powers. That's how we should see Krishna. Not everybody, but just Krishna, because Krishna is a unique person, the most unique person. And therefore we conceive of the Lord in terms of our limited powers of understanding. For example, the impersonalist philosophers of the Mayavada school accept only Lord's impersonal activities and reject his personal feature. But the members of the Bhagavata school, okay, so now we know how to differentiate ourselves from the Mayavada school. Our school is called Bhagavata school, or the school of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Mayavada school is the school of illusion, Maya. But the members of the Bhagavata school, adopting the perfect conception of the Lord, accept his inconceivable potencies and thus understand that he is both personal and impersonal. The Bhagavatas know that without inconceivable potencies, there can be no meaning to the words Supreme Lord. You see that? So, the Mayavadis reject his inconceivable potencies. Therefore, they're going to fall down, even if they attain Brahman realization, because they have an incomplete understanding of who God is. Right? And they are worse than the atheists. They insult Krishna more than the atheists do. The atheists don't know enough about Krishna to really insult him. The Mayavadis know a lot. Therefore, their insults are worse. Just like someone like Vivekananda, he knows a lot. He knows all about Lord Chaitanya. He knows all about Durga Mata. He knows all about philosophy. He was a very smart man, but he was the worst. He and his guru were the worst aparadis of Krishna. And he could talk about Krishna also. In his speech, he mentions Krishna in a speech in Chicago, right? He was a very, very educated man, but he's a nonsense, right? He thinks that Durga is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See? Okay. So then it says, we should not take it for granted that because we cannot see God with our eyes, that the Lord has no personal existence. Sri Ishopanishad refutes this argument by declaring that the Lord is far away, but very near also. The abode of the Lord is beyond the material sky, and we have no means to measure even this material sky. If the material sky extends so far, then what to speak of the spiritual sky, which is altogether beyond it? That the spiritual sky is situated far, far away from the material universe is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15.6. So I said, after this 13th chapter, we might go to the 15th chapter. These two chapters are the most philosophical. I mean, all the chapters are philosophical, but they have a lot of very heavy-duty philosophy. If the material sky extends so far, then what to speak of the spiritual sky, which is altogether beyond it? That the spiritual sky is situated far, far away from the material universe is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15.6. But despite the Lord's being so far away, he can at once, within less than a second, descend before us with a speed swifter than that of the mind or wind. He can also run so swiftly that no one can surpass him. This has already been described in the previous verse. Yet, when the personality of Godhead comes before us, we neglect him. Such foolish negligence is condemned by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita 9:11, where he says, that the foolish deride him, considering him a mortal being. He is not a mortal being, nor does he come before us with a body produced of material nature. There are many so-called scholars who contend that that the Lord descends in a body made of matter, just like an ordinary living being. Not knowing his inconceivable power, such foolish men place the Lord on an equal level with ordinary men. This is very, very prominent amongst the Hindus. Very, very prominent. And because of that, they are often insulting Krishna in the name of being a Hindu and being rational. Like someone like Dr. Radhakrishnan, who was a very prominent man. He was president of India. He was very well respected. He was a scholar. The man was a nonsense. He didn't believe that Krishna is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he made some atrocious statements. In fact, I have his Bhagavad Gita book. I'm going to bring it and just show you how far this guy is off spiritually. And Prabhupada really was very disappointed in him because he's such a prominent man and he has so much knowledge, but he's confused. See, and this is what's going on in India. So the 9th chapter, 11th verse says, Avajanati mam mudha manusim tanam amritam asritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in a human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So, then it continues. It says, yet when this personality Godhead comes before us, we neglect him. Such foolish negligence is condemned by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11, where he says that the foolish deride him, considering him a mortal being. He is not a mortal being, nor does he come before us with a body produced of material nature. There are many so-called scholars who contend that the Lord descends in a body made of matter, just like an ordinary living being. Not knowing his inconceivable power, such foolish men place the Lord on an equal level with ordinary men. Because he is full of inconceivable potencies, God can accept our service through any sort of medium, and he can convert his different potencies according to his own will. Non-believers argue either that the Lord cannot incarnate himself at all, or that if he does, he descends in a form of material energy. These arguments are nullified if we accept the existence of the Lord's inconceivable potencies. In other words, if we don't accept Krishna has inconceivable potencies, we remain atheists, even though we study the Shastra. We have to recognize that he can do things that we can't do. He can do things that nobody else can do. Right? If we don't accept that, then we remain an atheist. And then we use a rationality like Dr. Radhakrishnan and make atrocious, contrary statements about who Krishna is. See? He's using his logic and reason, but without recognizing the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. Therefore, he's making huge mistakes in his philosophical writings. So this is the most important thing. We have to accept Krishna as inconceivable potencies. Then we will understand that even if the Lord appears before us in the form of material energy, it is quite possible for him to convert this energy into spiritual energy. So that's what Krishna can do. He can convert material energy into spiritual energy. He can convert spiritual energy into material energy. He has that power. We don't have that power, but he has that power. Right? So when you see the deity in the temple made of, it could be made of plaster of Paris, it could be made of wood, it could be made of marble or granite, that is no longer a material object. If it's been properly installed, properly carved according to the description of the Lord, it is non-different than Krishna. And the devotees act like that by performing 6 artis a day, 6 offerings a day, and bathing the deity and changing the clothes twice a day. In some places, like in India, they can change the clothes more than that. And they feed him 56 times a day in Jagannath Puri. So that's not a deity anymore. That's not an idol anymore. Unfortunately, most Hindus talk about deities as idols. It just shows, how much ignorance is there. Okay, so it says, these arguments are nullified if we accept the existence of the Lord's inconceivable potencies. Then we will understand that even if the Lord appears before us in the form of material energy, it is quite possible for him to convert this energy into spiritual energy. Since the source of the energies is one and the same, the energies will be utilized to the will of their source, which is Krishna. For example, the Lord can appear in the form of Archa Vigraha, a deity supposedly made of earth, stone, or wood. Deity forms, although engraved from wood, stone, or other matter, are not idols, as the iconoclasts claim. Iconoclast is a big word. Highly educated people know the word. Iconoclast is someone who breaks deities, who breaks down sacred things into mundane things. You can look the word up. What?
A person who attacks cherished beliefs or institutions.
Yes, exactly. In our present state of imperfect material existence, we cannot see the Supreme Lord due to imperfect vision. Yet those devotees who want to see him by means of material vision are favored by the Lord, who appears in a so-called material form, to accept his word so-called in English. It means that people are saying something that is not actually true. So when it says, who appears in a so-called material form, well, actually the deity is no longer a material form. It's a spiritual form. Right? So whenever you hear the word so-called, it means that it's not what they're saying it is. It's something different. Right? And he does this to accept his devotee's service. It appears as the Archa Vigraha, or the deity in the temple. One should not think that such devotees who are in the lowest... One should not think that such devotees who are in the lowest stage of devotional service are worshipping an idol. They are factually worshipping the Lord, who has agreed to appear before them in an approachable way. Nor is the Archa, or the deity, form fashioned according to the whims of the worshipper. This form is eternally existent with all paraphernalia. This can be actually felt by a sincere devotee, but not by an atheist. Okay. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.11, the Lord says that how he treats his devotee depends on the devotee's degree of surrender. So that's the verse, Yeyatamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham mamavart manavartante manusya partha sarvasaha. The Lord reserves the right not to reveal himself to anyone and everyone, but to show himself only to those souls who surrender unto him. Thus, for the surrendered soul, he is always within reach, whereas for the unsurrendered soul, he is far, far away and cannot be approached. So everything depends on our degree of surrender to the Lord. You want to surrender completely, then you'll see everything. You want to surrender very partially or hardly anything at all, then that's all you're going to see, to the degree that we surrender. In this connection, 2 words, the revealed scriptures, often apply to the Lord. Saguna, with qualities, and Nirguna, without qualities. are very important. The word saguna does not imply that when the Lord appears with perceivable qualities, he must take on a material form and be subject to the laws of material nature. For him, there's no difference between the material and spiritual energies, because he is the source of all energies. As the controller of all energies, he cannot at any time be under their influence as we are. The material energy works according to his direction. Therefore, he can use that energy for his purposes without ever being influenced by any of the qualities of that energy. In this sense, he is nirguna, without qualities, meaning without any material qualities. He only has transcendental qualities. Nor does the Lord become a formless entity at any time, for ultimately he is the eternal form, the primeval Lord. His impersonal aspect, or Brahman effulgence, is but the glow of his personal rays, just as the sun's rays are the glow of the sun god. When the child Saint Prahlad Maharaj was in the presence of his atheist father, his father asked him, "Where is your God?" When Prahlada replied that God resides everywhere, the father angrily asked whether his God was within one of the pillars of the palace. And the child said yes. At once, the atheist king shattered the pillar in front of him to pieces, and the Lord instantly appeared as Nishinga, the half-man, half-lion incarnation, and killed the atheist king. Thus the Lord is within everything, and he creates everything by his different energies. Through his inconceivable powers, he can appear at any place in order to favor his sincere devotee. That's a very important statement. Lord Nishinga appeared from within the pillar not by the order of the atheist king, but by the wish of his devotee, Prahlada. An atheist cannot order the Lord to appear, but the Lord will appear anywhere and everywhere to show mercy to his devotee. The Bhagavad Gita 4.8 similarly states that the Lord appears in order to vanquish non-believers and protect believers. Right. Of course, the Lord has sufficient energies and agents who can vanquish atheists, but it pleases him to personally favor a devotee. Therefore, he descends as an incarnation. Actually, he descends only to favor his devotees and not for any other purpose. In the Brahma Samhita 5.35, it is said that Govinda, the primeval Lord, enters everything by his plenary portion. He enters the universe as well as all the atoms of the universe. He is outside in his Virat form, and he is within everything as Antaryami. As Antaryami, he witnesses everything that is going on, and he awards us the results of our actions as karma phal, or the fruit of our karma. We ourselves may forget what we have done in the previous lives, but because the Lord witnesses our actions, the results of our actions are always there, and we have to undergo the reactions nonetheless. The fact is that there is nothing but God within and without. See, that's a most important statement. That's the way devotees see the world. There's nothing but God within and without. He is everywhere present, and he is the prime quality of everything. The fact is that there is nothing but God within and without. Everything is a manifestation of his different energies, like the heat and light emanating from a fire. And in this way, there is a oneness among his diverse energies. Although there is oneness, however, the Lord in his personal form still enjoys unlimitedly all the pleasures enjoyed minutely by the tiny part and parcel living entities. In other words, he's the real Purusha, the real enjoyer. We are the false Purushas. But if we serve the Lord, then we participate in his transcendental activities. And therefore we're fully satisfied by that. Now, do you think Mr. XYZ PhD could write a purport like this? No, impossible. These purports are absolutely transcendental, because Prabhupada himself is a transcendental person. And if you look at the preciseness of everything he's saying, and he's chosen everywhere he says, he chose every word carefully. See? So there's no haphazardness, there's no incongruity. He doesn't say one thing in one place and then contradicts himself in another place. It's almost impossible for a person to be able to write so much and not contradict themselves. See? And now he's explaining things that are transcendental. They're not ordinary things. They are above the understanding of materialistic people, right? And he's explaining it without, let's say, leaving any ambiguity. It's very difficult to write like that. Very, very, very difficult. To not make a mistake. See, it's almost impossible, but he's able to do it. And we have to recognize that. Okay, so then there's something else I wanted to discuss also. The other day I started talking about object and goal. But it's very important to understand the difference because it says in the, let's see, which verse is it? Is it? Because in the previous verse, he talked about object and goal. Let's say. Which verse?
It's in the first verse also. He refers to it.
Well, it's in the beginning, yeah, but somewhere else also. Let me just see where it is.
It's the 18.
18, yeah.
18.
Yes, that's it. He is a source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. Now, if you read that, you might say, well, that sounds like it's the same thing, object of knowledge and goal. Actually, it's not. This is a highly philosophical two words, object and goal. So this is explained. It says, goals versus objects. What's the difference and examples?
Oh, you want us to search for it?
Well, I have it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can search it if you want. Yeah. Goals versus objects. What's the difference and examples? On your journey to achieve your dreams, there's no doubt you have many goals you want to accomplish. A concept that is frequently confused for goals is objectives, as the two words are often used interchangeably. There are a number of differences that set these two concepts apart, though. Like this was already discussed by Greeks, right? 2,500 years ago. But see, Krishna's talking about this 5,000 years ago. There is a difference between an objective and a goal. There are a number of differences that set these two concepts apart, though, like how they are measured and how long it takes to complete them. Understanding the distinction between goals and objectives can help you more efficiently plan out your goals and make them more attainable. Let's break down the differences between goals and objectives and explore some examples of each. Now, this is a mundane person writing this who knows English really well, okay? It doesn't mean that this is going to give us a complete understanding of objective and goal, but it's a beginning understanding, right? Because what Krishna's dealing with is transcendental knowledge. What this guy's talking about is English language nuance between objective and goal. A goal, what is a goal versus an objective? A goal is an outcome you want to achieve, while an objective is a specific and measurable action that can be reached in a short amount of time often related to a goal. When written out, goals are typically broad statements rather than a step-by-step process. They are often long-term endeavors. You can even set goals that are lifelong. Objectives, on the other hand, are precise targets you're striving to complete or individual steps in a process. What is the difference between goals and objectives? The key difference between goals and objectives is that objectives are the individual actions you need to take to achieve a goal. When working toward accomplishing a goal, often you'll have objectives you must complete along the way. By completing objectives, you're making progress toward completing your goal. Now you see, that's why Krishna says here, there's jnanam, gyayam, jnanagamyam. This is Sanskrit, right? So, jnanam is knowledge. Gyayam is the object of knowledge. And jnanagamyam is the goal of knowledge. Okay? So those are the Sanskrit words. Jnanam, gyayam, jnanagamyam. So, therefore, the object of knowledge are the 20 points of knowledge. And the goal of knowledge is to know and love Krishna. There you go. You see how we can use mundane explanations because these points have been discussed since ancient times, the difference between an objective and a goal. See? The Greeks discussed it also, but it was discussed earlier by Krishna himself. But we have the clear understanding what it is. The objective are the 20 points of knowledge, and the goal is to love Krishna and to serve the Lord eternally, right? And understand, our relationship with the Lord. The difference between goals and objectives is that objectives are the individual actions you need to take to achieve a goal. When working toward accomplishing a goal, often you'll have objectives you must complete along the way. By completing objectives, you're making progress toward completing your goal. Because the goal can be comprised of many objectives, it almost always takes longer to accomplish. Setting objectives can help you better understand the criteria of your goal and the exact steps needed to complete it. Examples of goals with objectives. Let's take a deeper dive into the differences between goals and objectives. Each example below covers a different category and outlines a goal and the corresponding objectives that can contribute to accomplishing it. Personal goal. Get 8 hours of sleep every night. Objectives. Stop drinking caffeine in the afternoon. Set alarms for going to bed and for waking up. Avoid exercising 2 hours before going to bed. Stop watching television and talking on the cell phone and going on the internet for hours after 10 o'clock. I added those 3. Final goal. Save money for summer vacation. Objectives. Calculate how much money you need for your trip. Designate a specific amount of money each month for saving. Open a bank account to store the money you are saving for your vacation. Professional goal. Improve your presentation skills. Objectives. Watch a video course on how to improve your public speaking skills. 2. Practice presenting a few times a week. 3. Give a mock presentation to a coworker and ask for feedback. Okay. Use objectives to map your SMART goals. Need help achieving your goals? Consider organizing your objectives with SMART goal setting. SMART is a methodology that can help you identify relevant objectives and outline a clear path to attaining your goals. Here's what the SMART acronym stands for. Acronym is a series of letters that stand for words, right? So when it says SMART acronym, it means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-sensitive, SMART. See, that's an acronym. So specific, what exactly do you want to accomplish? Measurable, how will you measure your progress as you work toward completing your goal? Achievable, what you can realistically achieve and what skills will you need to reach your goal? Relevant, why you want to accomplish your goal now? Does it align with your other goals? Time sensitive, what deadlines will you set and how will you hold yourself accountable for meeting them? Write out your SMART goals and objectives with this acronym as a guide, or use our guide to setting SMART goals worksheet to get started. By breaking down your goals into objectives using the SMART methodology, you can more easily map out what you want to accomplish and how you can do it so efficiently. Start working towards your achievements today. Understanding the difference between goals and objectives is a first great step in setting your goals. Once you set your goals and objectives, you're ready to start working toward achieving your dreams. While you're at it, consider joining the Dream Movement today. You'll find that's called the Hare Krishna movement. You'll find tips and resources to support you along any dream pursuit. Hari Bol. Interesting, isn't it? What we learned in the class. So we'll stop right there. Are there any questions? You see how this 13th chapter is very, very interesting chapter. It has a lot of things that are very important to know. Hari Bol.
I think one thing, Maharaj, I picked up. Let me just find that one. So in the Upanishad, Srila Prabhupada states that towards the end, although there is oneness, however, the Lord in his personal form still enjoys unlimitedly all the pleasures enjoyed minutely by the tiny part and parcel living entity.
So we enjoy family, we enjoy trips, we enjoy parties, we enjoy all these things. So there are equivalent things in the spiritual world, but purified, not contaminated. Right? They're having festivals. They're having, family reunions, like this Nanda Maharaj, Yasoda Mai, and so forth. Right? So anything that we are experiencing is in a pure state in the spiritual world. So there's no boredom. And there's no cessation like there is in the material world. You don't see your uncle die, your father die, your mother die. It's not happening like that. So what we really want is the spiritual world. We don't really want this world. This world is like full of misery. But to understand that, to get us through this thick head, it's not easy. People think this is the only reality, right? So we may as well, do as many gross things as possible if we can get away with it. But no, you're not going to get away with anything. How can you get away with anything when Krishna's in your heart and is witnessing everything you do? Once people understand this, especially our kids, then they become devotees. But by going to school, they're learning all kinds of low-class stuff. And it's completely, what you would say, diametrically different than what we're teaching here. Diametrically. Look at that word up, diametric.
Yeah, diametrically opposite means exactly opposite.
Exactly opposite, exactly. I made a list of all the nonsense gurus, so-called gurus. Yogananda Paramahansa, Ma Amritananda, Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, Muktananda, Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, Nityananda, not our Nityananda, but the bogus Nityananda. Did you send that video to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah? Did you get any replies?
No reply. the people watched it.
Asuram Baba, Ramana Maharshi, Sadguru, or Asadguru, Shri Ravi Shankar, Osho Bhagavan Rajneesh, Satya Sai Baba, Neem Karoli Baba. He's not real bad. He's not real bad, Neem Karoli Baba. But, you know, he has got his thing. But Kripalu, Kripalu what? Mahapatya or something like that, or Kripalu. Aurobindo, Krishnamurti, Baba Rampal, who's supposed to be the incarnation of Kabir. I stopped there, but if you have more, you can help me fill out this list. Okay, so we'll stop right there. Thank you very much. Every day, learn something new. Did you know the difference in objectives and goals? I didn't either. Yeah. There's more to say about it, because this is from the material point of view, right?
So in the life of a devotee, both, because Prabhupada also states both the destination and the path are the same, which is devotion. So in many ways, the goal and objective.
The objective and the goal are the same, yeah.
Same. Yeah. So that's what, in a material world, goal is different, their objective is different, but in the path of devotion,
yes,
they're in
very good
same.
Point.
Yeah.
Very good point. Yeah. Yeah. Devotional service is the means and the end.
And then.
Right. Yeah. Haribol.
Haribol.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So you don't have to go to these seminars, you just come here and
Yes.
learn everything.
Learn all dimensions.
Huh?
You learn all dimensions of knowledge.
Yeah.
Contrast in terms of what is right.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Haribol. Look at this weather, my God.
It was just as if like Krishna just opened it for a day and then closed it.
Exactly right.
And it was touching Maharaj 70 on that.
You know, even the governor, did you see his speech? Did you hear
I
his speech?
didn't hear the speech.
Do you have it? I can send it to you.
Oh, yesterday was one, yeah.
His speech is saying, it just happens that these people have a beautiful day today.
Now we hear when Krishna was carried by, Vasudeva, and then how the
the water separated.
Water separates
The river.
the river. We can see how yesterday was, day before yesterday was exactly like that.
Yeah. It was a hiatus in a big storm level area. My God.
It was touching 70 Maharaj temperature.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It looked like summer.
Yeah, we felt like a summer.
Yeah.
And people were giving the similar feedback. They said, oh, I feel like a summer.
It's incredible. Just incredible. If you see the picture of the, take a look at this.
Oh, so beautiful. It's like one of those June, July, Anandamaya type.
Yeah, it looks like another.
Bigger than
No, the brightness.
Yeah,
the sun is.
But I'm saying that in Angal also we don't have these many people together.
No.
So they are like together, these many people.
Maybe in Anandamaya also we should keep a separate.
No, you don't want to. No, you don't want to mix it. You don't want any colors there. That wouldn't be good. This is like a Bollywood song, right? It's very famous.
Very, very
Yeah, that DJ Anjali, she was really right on. Yeah. amazing. Look at the crowd. It's like it's an ocean of people.
Yeah, I think for about till 1 o'clock it seemed little slow.
Yeah.
But once 1:30, pretty much all the people came in.
Yes.
It's an incredible experience. I look at it, I can't even believe we did it. It's like a dream. And it's all over now. You go there, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Right. Unbelievable. Haribol.
Thank you.
Jai. Go ahead.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Bandha Mohi Savadhana Mate
Bando Mui Savadana Mate
Jahara Prasade Bhai E Bhava Toriya Jai
Janara Prasade Bhai E Bhavatoriya Jai
Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoite
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya
Guru Mukha Padma Vaikya Chitete Koriya Aikya
Arna Kori Ho Mane Asha
Arana Koriya Mane Asa
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Utama Gati
Shri Guru Charane Rati He Seyutamagati
Je Prasade Pure Sarva Asha
Viprasade Pure Sarva Asa
Chakshudan Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Se
Chakshudan Dila Je Janme Janme Prabhu Se
Divya Gyan Hirde Prakashito
Nirde Gyan Nirde Prakasito
Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasha Jaite
Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasa Jate
Vede Gai Jahara Charito
Vede Gai Charatarito
Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu
Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu
Lokenath Lokera Jivana
Lokenath Lokera Jivana
Ha Prabhu Karo Daya Deho More Pada Chaya
Haha Prabhu Kurodoya Dehamore Padachaya
Ebejas Gushuk Tribhuana
Ebeyas Gusachi Bhuvana
Prabhupada Patita Pavana
Jayo Prabhupada Patita Pavana
Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada
Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatarine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine
Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam
Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadha
Gadadhar
Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bola Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pararaja Vichara Statara Satara Shri 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 Madhis Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi ki jai. Namacharya Silaridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasa Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Salam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Godan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan ki jai. My poor dog ki jai, Jagannath Dham ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Samavita Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premananda. All glories to some of the words, all glories to some of the words, all glories to some of the words, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Bhavani ki jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Ksavasthabhati Smadhavata. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Vichari Devi Sesa Sunyavali Paskati Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great honor and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of the Lord.
My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from lotus mouth.
Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with the transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord,
birth after birth. From him ecstatic
emanates. By him
ignorance is destroyed.
The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our
spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord master of the devotees.
O Master, be merciful
unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet.
Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take
the shelter of your lotus feet.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Nirvisesa Sunyavadi